how do we keep students coming back to our ministry and our programs? What's going to help us open that front door really wide, but close that back door so that they don't escape out the back and never experience that Christian community that we're creating in our student ministries? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about on this quick episode of Student Ministry Connection. Welcome to Student Ministry Connection, a podcast for those who serve in student ministry, want to connect with others who are doing the same, and also want to continue growing as a leader and a disciple. My name is Steve Cullum, and I've served in student ministry for a number of years, ever since I first started in 1999 as a volunteer when I was still in high school. And here we are several years later, and now I'm serving as a youth pastor, but I'm also serving with National Network of Youth Ministries, where I get to serve others who are in youth ministry and help you thrive. And that's what this podcast is really all about as well. And today I wanted to take just a moment to address several questions that I've been seeing lately in different youth ministry groups online. And it's this idea of connecting with students who are new. How do you get them to continue coming back to your group and your ministry over and over, rather than just attending one time and then walking out the back door and never to be seen again? Some people are even asking what a healthy first-time guest retention rate would be. And I would see this honestly as a close to 100%. That's what our goal is, right? We want to see every student who has the courage to come into our ministry, whether they're invited by their friends, whether they're forced to come by their parents, or whether they just stumble in the door on their own because they are somehow seeking God. We want to see them come back. We want to see them get plugged in and continue to come and continue to explore their faith, and then eventually begin to invite their friends as well. So how would we even come close to getting most of those students back, knowing that some of them are going to be visiting for a one-time thing, or their parents have forced them to be there or something like that? But how do we get the vast majority of those students to come back and get plugged in? I think the biggest thing that we can do to help students come back is to get them connected. You know, right? When you are connected to other people, you want to come back. I realized this early in my ministry when I was still an intern. It was at the height of the worship wars of the late 90s, early 2000s in ministry, and something just hit me one day. I think there's one main reason why people come back to church. It's probably not the music, even though that does factor into it sometimes. It's probably not the preaching, although that also does factor into it sometimes. And it's probably not the entertainment factor, especially nowadays. I think the leading reason why people come back, apart from God himself and what he's doing, is relationships. You want to be a part of something that you are connected to. So when students get connected their first time visiting, the chances of them coming back are increased exponentially. So how have I done this over the years? We try really hard to make sure those students are connected to other students when they attend. And that doesn't just mean, hey, I want to introduce you to so-and-so and make sure they exchange names. No, we want to connect them with a lot of students, and especially some that they can connect with beyond just names. The goal really is that they're exchanging phone numbers and they're talking about what they like and what they don't like. And here's the kicker. What happens after that is that student that they met is texting them throughout the week, or calling them if they want to, or whatever it is, and saying, hey, I hope to see you next week. It was great to meet you. I hope to see you again. And that way, it's not only coming from me as the youth pastor, but now it's coming from other students, people their age who want to see them again. They're connected. I also make sure that they are connected with adult leaders, because it's not just about connections with teenagers that matter. It's also connections with adult leaders. In ministries that have small group leaders, this is a key element as well. Make sure those small group leaders meet this new student, get connected. We get contact information for them and all that stuff. But I make sure right as soon as I meet this brand new student that they are connecting with their leaders. And then it also comes back to us on the administrative side, because we're going to get as much contact information from that new student as we can and their parent. And so what we do with that information is vital. Number one, we're connecting with that parent as much as we can. We're getting that parent on the email list, the texting list. We're reaching out. We're saying how great it was to have their student attend, and we hope to see them again. They're finding out information about our upcoming camps and other events, and they're in the know. In the same way, we're also making sure that the student is on all of those lists as well. They're getting the emails, they're getting the text, they're connecting with us on social media, whatever it is. We're making them feel like they're already part of the group, even if they've only attended one time. When they feel like they're a part of the group, when they feel like they're connected, when students and other leaders are reaching out to them and saying, hey, I can't wait to see you again, the chances of that student coming back are exponential. I've also noticed that when students get involved in the ministry, it also helps. So while we don't want to push leadership and push that sort of thing on students before they're ready for it, I do know that when students get involved, they are more likely to be there, to invest in the ministry, and to also want to bring their friends to be a part of it as well. If you want to dive more into student leadership specifically, I'd encourage you to check out episode 94, where I share several tips for student leadership. That's a different part of our student ministry strategy, but I do think it connects with helping students be a part of the ministry because they begin to own it. And then my last tip for making sure students come back is to get them to a camp or a mission trip or some other big event. You know that when students come to an event like that, they will walk away feeling like they are connected. That is our goal. Get those students connected. And if you have a camp or a mission trip right around the corner, try to get that student to attend that event. Because we all know if they get dropped off on a Friday and barely knowing anybody, by the time they come back from that winter retreat on Sunday or back the next week from a summer camp or a mission trip, they're going to feel completely different. They're going to feel like they're a part of that group, as long as your students and your leaders are doing their job throughout that week and making it a great experience. That student is going to walk away not feeling like an outsider anymore. Again, that's our goal. Get them from feeling like an outsider when they walk in the door to a connected student who is a vital part of your group. That's what's going to keep them coming back. If you ignore them, if you don't follow up, if you don't get them connected with other students and other leaders, chances are they are not going to be gracing your doors anymore because they don't feel connected. But if we do get them connected, our retention rates are going to go up considerably. And what we're going to do is we're going to open a wide front door and we're going to start to close that back door of our ministry. So what's this look like for you? The truth is that it can look different for every ministry that's out there. We're all going to need to take a long look at our ministry, our resources, the leaders we have, all these different things, and try to come up with the best strategy that we can to get students connected. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It's really just making sure those students are not walking in the door and then forgotten when they walk out the door. Get them connected. That can be through a formal way of forms and check-in systems and that sort of thing, or it can just be as simple as, oh, hey, there's a new student. Let me go greet them, get to know them, ask them some good questions, and then pass them off to a handful of other students and other leaders and encourage those other students and those leaders to do what they do best and connect with those students. And if your existing students don't know how to connect with new students, maybe that's the place to start. Start with helping them know how to connect with new students when they walk in the doors. So when you do hand them off or your leaders hand them off to other students to get connected, they know what to do. And before we close up, I want to just throw this out there to you. If you have other things that have worked for you in getting students to keep coming back, getting them connected and feeling like they're a part of the ministry, please reach out. I would love to hear from you on social media. You can find all our social media links in our show notes. You can find my email in the show notes. You can follow me on social media. You can do all those things, but just reach out and say, hey, this has also worked for me. I would love to hear from you on that as well. And speaking of getting connected, I'm going to try something new. If you're listening to this episode and you've been wondering, how can I get more connected as a youth leader? I want to be more connected, not just my students. We're going to be trying something out. It's just a test. It's just to see what happens. But I'm going to put a link to a Discord group in our show notes, and I would love to have you join. And we're just going to test it out to see if something like this would be beneficial. And we want it to be a safe place, a place where youth leaders can get together and share ideas and share encouragements, share what God's been doing in your ministry. If you have any struggles, you can share those on there as well. But it's a safe place where we can just connect and support each other, because the stats are kind of staggering. Over the last several years, we've seen that not only are teenagers struggling to get connected, but youth leaders are also struggling to get connected. So if you're serving in student ministry and maybe you've been listening to the podcast for a while, and one of the reasons why you do so is because you want to be connected, here's another way that we're going to test out for a little while to see if it works. So jump over there, be one of the early adopters in our Discord, and we would love to see you there. And that brings us to the end of episode 150 and also the end of year 9 of this podcast, which is pretty exciting. We're going to be back in a couple weeks as usual with our next episode, and I'm really pumped for you to hear this next episode. But until then, make sure you're subscribed on your favorite podcast app, and also make sure you're sharing this with others in student ministry. And if you're interested in joining my financial or prayer partnership team for my ministry with National Network of Youth Ministries, be sure to follow those links in the show notes as well. We would love to connect with you and discuss all the ways that you can connect with this ministry and connect with other youth leaders. Speaking of which, I'm booking up my summer. I've already got about 4 different speaking opportunities this summer. So if you're interested in looking for a speaker for your camp or for a youth group 1 week or something like that, know that that's something that I do. So if you're interested in that, please be sure to reach out on my website at stevecullum.com. Well, that officially brings us to the end of this episode. We can't wait to have you back next time, but until then, be sure to stay connected, and may God bless your ministry.